What's up, guys? Scorn here. If you're new, welcome to my channel. If you're a returner, welcome back. Today I want to talk about some ESO Plus. The pros, the cons, some must-have features, some ways that you can work around those, other things like that. Odds are, if you've played this game, you've been to maybe the Reddit subforum, maybe some other secondary source or someone's website for build options where someone always poses the question, is ESO Plus worth it? So let's discuss it.
Drop it.
First off, let's talk about what ESO Plus is and what it isn't. Elsewhere just dropped. Elsewhere is not included in ESO Plus or that subscription service. That is a chapter. Traditionally, chapters, especially upon release, are not included in ESO Plus, although DLCs are, and those DLCs now include former chapters such as Morrowind. In that list of former chapters, Somerset is not included, but if the track record maintains, you could maybe assume, or safe to say assume, that Somerset at one point will be continued a ESO Plus perk. So what is ESO Plus? By its very nature, it's a VIP based system. It's a subscriber system. One of the most obvious perks you get are monthly crown allowances. Currently, you get 1,650 monthly crowns. You get all of the DLCs, which I'll read you the list, includes the Murkmire. And, when you see DLC, it's the DLC dungeon, DSL group dungeons, delves, the territory, whatever it may be. But that includes, again, Murkmire, Wolf Hunter, Dragon Bones, Clockwork City, Horns of the Reach, Morrowind, Shadows of the Hiss, Dark Brotherhood, Thieves Guild, Orsinium, and the Imperial City. And there's a lot of good content, a lot of good gear sets that are kind of must-haves for some higher-end players, or if you're looking to build some metas, you're going to need to go to those places. You can, I believe, trade for gear from those zones, such as, Imperial City, but the thing would be the dungeon drops and stuff. You technically would have to be in someone's group to get that, and I'm not sure how that workaround would necessarily go, because I am a subscriber and I've always at least bought, those DLC zones. Which brings me to my next point. With that crown allotment, you might see the $15, or if you subscribe for a prolonger time, like $13. I think that's the 6-month rate. You can use those crowns to then purchase, say, a kit of the DLC content, so you'll forever perpetually own that DLC content. So it's kind of like a rent to own if you treat it like that, especially from the onset. And there are various reasons why people may or may not like that model, but there is a way around that if you don't want to perpetually subscribe to ESO Plus, save your crowns, buy the DLC content that you enjoy. I would recommend the Imperial City, if not just for PvP, but those dungeons has some very good sets. Obviously Morrowind has some nostalgia and some very good stuff there as well, but it's a personal taste thing. Just be on the lookout for it. Let's talk about some of the other perks that come along with your ESO Plus membership. One of the things that people, if you ever taste the ESO Plus membership, say on one of these sampler weekends or something, you get immediately hooked on the ability to save your inventory space and get what's called the craft bag. So all your ores, tannins, different things, hides, herbs, flowers, whatever, poisons, water, all of those things that you need to craft, they can now go into the bag, and that bag is infinitely deep. So you could literally run around picking up everything. If you're anything like me, that's what you do. So your inventory still fills up, but it fills up that much slower when the raw materials that you need to craft are going straight to that bag. The other big perk of that bag is if you're an altaholic or you just like making other characters and want to do some of the crafting. I mean, you have instant access to that bag through your account. It's not character bound, so I wouldn't recommend necessarily needing every character to do some of your crafting, although having them all at 50 makes it that much simpler to deconstruct and do different things to get materials, other than, you know, your alchemy and cooking, which is kind of a mandatory. If you want to be good end game, you have to have those maxed out. So, and we'll talk about that maybe in a future video, but not today. So anyways, back to ESO Plus from that tangent. So you get access to all those DLCs, you get the craft bag, but on top of that, you're going to get some other perks. It includes double the bank space. So if you're, again, a big crafting trick, depositing, say, all of your metal items, all your metal weapons, your armor in your bag or in your bank, you know, which if you haven't realized, when something's in your bank, you can still do research with it. You now for free have double the bank space. I mean, you could say, well, that's not really that important. I don't have a full bank anyhow. But, I mean, and you could also purchase bank space with in-game gold. But at the same time, you know, it is something that, especially for, say, a higher CP character or someone who has multiple characters, you're really using that bank space to move stuff between characters, especially gear, or holding on to different gear sets that you think maybe a patch or something's coming that's going to change, or the meta's going to change. So, you know, it's something not to be discounted. You do get a, I believe, 10% bonus to all of your experience, whether that's crafting, whether that's combat or level experience, you know. So that builds up. Additionally, you get some extra furniture space, you know, on top of those materials that are used to build furniture going into that craft bag we just discussed. You can also deploy more items into your player homes. So it's a very big thing. Double transmutation crystals. You know, again, if you can end around that. You don't necessarily need the double. You could do without, but you know, it's just a lot that if you're really serious in this game, you might want to consider doing something like this, or at least for so long as to be able to save up to buy all the DLC. Which transitions us to, how do you work around the ESO Plus in that craft bag? Because the craft bag, I guess, unarguably, and if you disagree with me, please leave a comment, but that craft bag is the true game changer if you plan on doing any sort of crafting or managing your inventory space in an easier way. You could do a workaround, but it's a little bit more time consuming. So if you have a limited play style or a limited play time, you might want to still just consider ESO Plus. But a lot of people, they create what are kind of banking characters or mule characters, where, say, you create a level 3, you don't necessarily play them, you use some gold, you up their inventory space so they can hold items, you also train their mount to increase inventory space so you can hold more items, and that's what people do. So they'll create an alt that is, say, for all the woodworking materials, and that individual will, you know, log in periodically and just take all of that material out of the bank to conserve the main character's inventory space. You know, it makes crafting a little bit difficult, so what some people do is they have for each of those characters that person focus, or that toon focus on only that one skill. So there are ways to get around it. Again, if you're on a limited time, you can't really play for 12 hours a day, and you know, a 5 or 10 minute window where you'd be juggling between characters is kind of important to you. I would still, you know, really support the ESO Plus membership. Lastly, let's talk a little bit about at the end of ESO Plus, because you know, I've had it and then not had it, gone back and forth with it. And life doesn't end when you go off of ESO Plus. It's kind of a thing like, oh, am I getting into a forever $15 a month subscription? But no, because you could, say you get to CP 600. I know it's not the cap, but you have plenty of gear, plenty of crafting mats for, say, a couple months of, doing your crafting writs, or you don't do your crafting writs regularly. Those materials stay in your bag, that craft bag, after your subscription to ESO Plus ends, so you can kind of manage your inventory more. Maybe you tone off on collecting non-essential craft items, that sort of thing. So just wanted to throw that out there. If you hung in for all this, I really appreciate it, but just some things to consider on ESO Plus. I know I personally answered this question 100 different times on subreddit of Elder Scrolls Online or some other forums, or just talk to friends about it, because between all those features, the craft bag mainly, the experience, the crown allowance, and access to the DLCs, that's if you're looking to do PvE content, it at least is a temporary necessity. And if you disagree, feel free to leave a comment. If you have any other questions, I'll be happy to give you any other feedback that I may offer. But once again, Scorntown signing out. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and have a great rest of your day, evening, morning, whatever it is there where you are. Have a good one.
Models popping bottles.